I got home earlier than usual, which was unusual in my routine. The work had been intense and, for a moment, I thought I could use some more time with my family. Upon opening the door, I was greeted by a silence that seemed heavier than usual. The smell of dinner still hung in the air, but there was something else that bothered me, a feeling I couldn't identify. I walked towards the living room, and as I approached the half-open door, I heard laughter. They were soft laughs, almost complicit. My heart started to race. Anna, I thought. As I peeked through the crack, I saw my wife, Anna, sitting on the couch, her expression illuminated by a glow I hadn't seen in a while. By his side was Daniel, a friend of ours. He looked at her with an intensity that left me uneasy. "You were always so funny. I don't know how you can make me laugh like that," Anna said, with a laugh that rang in my ears like a warning bell. Her smile, which should have brought me comfort, now felt treacherous. "It's just a friendship," I repeated to myself, but the voice of reason began to be lost amid the storm of emotions that was forming inside me. I waited a moment, trying to process what was happening, until I could no longer sit still. Opening the door sharply, I entered the room, my eyes fixed on the two of them. "What's going on here?" I asked, anger brimming with every syllable. Anna turned around, surprised. Daniel, on the other hand, remained silent, a guilty expression settling on his face. "Lucas, calm down," Anna said, standing up quickly. "It's just Daniel. He came to tell me about the job." His voice was soft, but the words seemed empty. "That's it? Just one? Just Daniel?" I replied, the indignation turning into a whirlwind of accusations. "You don't care how it looks? I come home and find you here with him, laughing and having fun." Anna tried to explain, but I wasn't listening. "That's it, isn't it? You're cheating on me," I screamed, feeling the pain and betrayal consume me. "I can't believe you would do this to me." "Lucas, it's not what you think." She tried to defend herself, but anger had taken over me. "You're being ridiculous. Daniel is just a friend. You've always been insecure, but this is too much," said Anna, with an expression of frustration and despair. But I was beyond reason. "Insecure? Do you really think I'm the problem here? You're the one acting suspiciously," I replied, my tone rising even further. "I can't live with this uncertainty. If you can laugh and have fun like this, then I don't see any point in staying here. I don't trust you." That night dragged on. I couldn't sleep, reliving every moment of that scene in my mind. Anna's laughter, Daniel's look, everything was repeated like a painful echo. I couldn't understand why, suddenly, my life felt like it was falling apart. The image of my son, Miguel, playing and smiling seemed so distant. I was ready to abandon everything. Anger turned to grim determination. The next morning, with a heavy heart and a confused mind, I made a decision that would change the course of my life. "I can't live like this anymore," I muttered to myself as I packed some things. Anna and Miguel were everything to me, but doubt was eating me up inside. With one last look at the house I once considered home, I walked outside, leaving behind not only my family, but also the happiness I once had. In the months that followed my impulsive decision, I immersed myself in work. The routine became a kind of anesthetic, a way to suffocate the pain that accompanied me like a constant shadow. Hours turned into days, days into weeks, and I got lost in graphs and reports, in meetings that didn't interest me and deadlines that meant nothing to me. Each email read, each task completed, was a vain attempt to push away the thoughts that insisted on haunting me. Anna and Miguel. The image of my son, with his innocent smile, tormented me in the quietest hours. At night, when I finally got home, the loneliness became unbearable. One night, after another exhausting journey, I sat on the couch, surrounded by an oppressive silence. I looked at the corner of the room where we used to play with Miguel, and the memory of his laugh echoed in my mind. A treacherous tear ran down my face. "Why don't you come back?" I muttered to myself, knowing the answer was an abyss of wounded pride and unresolved hurt. I hadn't just left Anna. I had left Miguel, and this guilt became an increasingly difficult weight to bear. One morning, while I was drinking my coffee, my phone rang. It was Daniel, my longtime friend. "Lucas, You need to go out for a bit. Shall we have a beer? He suggested, his voice full of concern that I couldn't understand. I'm busy, Daniel. I can't, I replied, trying to hide the pain that still consumed me. He insisted, just a little, man. You can't live like this. I knew he was right, but I didn't want to hear it. What I needed was the silence that my work provided. When I finally gave in and went to the bar, the atmosphere was full of laughter and lively conversation. The loud music made me feel even more out of place. Daniel greeted me with a hug, but I couldn't respond in the same way. You're too thin, he commented, examining my face. Everything is fine? I just shook my head, not having the courage to share the turmoil that was going on inside me. The conversation flowed superficially, but with each sip of beer, the feeling of despair increased. You can't go on like this, Lucas. What happened between you and Anna was a tragedy, but you're punishing yourself for something that could have been resolved, said Daniel, looking into my eyes seriously. I didn't want to hear it, but his words began to resonate with me. You don't understand. She betrayed me, Daniel. I can't live with someone I don't trust, I replied, trying to justify my choice. He sighed. But what about Miguel? He doesn't deserve this. His words hit me like a punch in the gut. You don't know what you're saying, I retorted angrily. I can't be a father to him if I can't trust his mother. What if you're wrong? What if this is all a big misunderstanding? Daniel's provocation made me remain silent, staring at the glass in front of me. The rest of the night passed in a blur. I tried to distract myself, but the empty feeling kept haunting me. Upon returning home, loneliness awaited me, and with it, the reality I had tried to avoid. My heart was heavy, and my mind never stopped spinning. I looked at the photos on the wall, Anna and Miguel smiling, moments frozen in time that now seemed like a distant echo. What had I done? I let the love of my life and my son escape, all because of an unfounded suspicion. With each passing day, the pain of my decision became more intense, and I didn't know if I would have the courage to face the consequences of my excessive pride. It was then that I decided I needed answers, but the idea of confronting Anna, of facing what I had done, terrified me. What if I find out that the betrayal was real? I thought. But deep down, the truth was calling to me, and I knew I couldn't run away forever. Hours passed, but Daniel's message echoed in my mind like an inescapable nightmare. Anna is sick. The words were imprinted on my memory, and I couldn't shake the feeling of urgency that took hold of me. The idea that the woman I once loved, the mother of my son, was facing such a cruel battle made me uneasy. Not knowing exactly what to do, I grabbed the car keys and, on an almost automatic impulse, drove towards the house that was once our family's home. I arrived in front of the house and hesitated. The place looked the same, but at the same time so different. The paint was peeling in places, and the garden, which used to be well tended by Anna, was overrun with weeds. Heart racing, I got out of the car and approached the door. It was as if every step I took was a memory of the past that I tried to bury. I knocked on the door and, to my surprise, Miguel opened it. He looked at me with an expression that mixed confusion and expectation. "Father?" he asked, hesitantly. "Hi, Miguel," I replied, trying to smile, but his expression made me feel like I didn't have that right. He looked so grown up, so different from the boy I left behind years ago. "Did you come to see Mom?" he asked, his voice full of hope. "Yes, I heard she's not well. I can enter?" I asked, my throat dry. Miguel nodded, still watching me with a look I couldn't decipher. Upon entering, I was immediately hit by the familiar smell of the house, mixed with the fragrance of medicine and disinfectant. I felt a knot forming in my stomach. I walked to the living room and, when I saw Anna, my heart stopped. She was lying on the sofa, pale and thin, a pained expression on her face. "Anna," I murmured, unable to move. She opened her eyes slowly, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. "Lucas, you came. I heard you were sick. Daniel warned me." The voice was slurred, almost a whisper. Guilt consumed me, and I didn't know how to deal with it. "I didn't want you to know." She struggled to sit up, but I came over and helped her. "I don't want you to worry about it." "How can you say that?" I retorted, indignation rising. You are the mother of my son. I should have been here. Anna looked at the ground, her eyes filled with sadness. Lucas, I don't want you to feel guilty. What happened between us, that was so long ago. But it wasn't just that, Anna. I left you. I left you too. The words came out of me with a weight that seemed unbearable. She took a deep breath, and it seemed like she was making an effort to gather her strength. You didn't know the truth. I never cheated on you, Lucas. I never. She hesitated, as if the words were difficult to digest. I didn't get a chance to explain. I remained silent, absorbing his words. The anger and hurt I carried seemed to begin to dissipate, but the confusion grew. So what happened? Why all this? Why didn't you look for me? I didn't know how. After you left, everything became chaos. Miguel was so little, and I just wanted to protect him. Her gaze was lost for a moment, and I realized that the pain she felt was palpable. I didn't want you to see me like this, weak and defeated. Anna, you are not weak. I don't know what to think. Frustration took over me, and I ran my hand through my hair, trying to organize my thoughts. Daniel told me you were with him, that there was something more. She looked at me, and her eyes flashed with a mixture of anger and pain. Daniel, he was wrong, Lucas. He always had a distorted view of what happened between us. Things are not what they seem. Her words hammered my mind. The confusion grew thicker, and I needed answers. But at that moment, I could only feel her fragility, like glass about to break, and the idea that I could have destroyed it all terrified me. I was standing in my doorway, my heart racing, almost as if I was about to enter unknown territory. The familiar smell of home mixed with the fragrance of the medicine that Anna now needed. Soft afternoon light filtered through the windows, casting long, moody shadows on the floor. It was all so familiar and, at the same time, so distant. What did I expect to find? The anger that consumed me years ago had dissipated, but guilt and regret took its place. When I entered, I saw her. Anna was sitting in the living room, her expression tired and her eyes distant. I tried to remember the lively woman I knew, but what was before me was a shadow of that person. The hair, once vibrant, was now dull and thin. She looked at me, and deep in her eyes, I saw a mixture of pain and hope. Lucas. The sound of my name on his lips brought a wave of emotions I hadn't expected. Anna, I replied, my voice breaking. How are you? The question sounded hollow, but it was all I could muster at that moment. She smiled, but it was a sad smile, and it cut me like a knife. I'm fighting as always, she said, trying to sound strong. What about you? What brought you here? His question was direct, as it always was, and I didn't know how to respond. The truth was that I was there looking for answers, but also for the forgiveness I never asked for. I don't know. I got Daniel's message and I worried. I never wanted this to happen. The words came out in disarray, as if I were trying to put together pieces of a puzzle that no longer fit together. Anna looked down, and the tension in the air became palpable. Lucas, I always hoped you'd come back, but not the way you left. His voice was steady, but I could feel the tremor behind it. You don't know what it was like to live all these years without you, without knowing why you were gone. It was because of what I saw, I said, my voice growing in intensity. That conversation with Daniel, I couldn't deal with the idea that you could betray me. With each word, the pain of the past flooded my chest, and I felt like an idiot for having believed in something so fickle. Anna took a deep breath, as if she was preparing for something. Lucas, I never cheated on you. That day, what you saw wasn't what it seemed. Daniel and I were just talking about you, about our lives. He was worried about you. His gaze was intense, and I saw the sincerity in his eyes. I don't know how he managed to make you believe I had something with him, but why didn't you ever tell me that? Frustration was rising in me, the need for answers becoming almost unbearable. Why didn't you explain everything to me before? Because you didn't want to hear it, she replied, her voice firm but full of pain. When you left, you didn't want to hear from me or what I had to say. You let your anger get the better of you, and I couldn't do anything but wait. The truth in her words hit me like a punch in the gut. I realized that, in my impulsiveness, I had closed the door to any and all communication. Daniel, I murmured, remembering the friend who had always been by my side, but who now seemed to be the real traitor. He had a role in this, didn't he?
Anna nodded slowly.
He always had a complicated relationship with you, Lucas. And when you left, he used it to get revenge. I didn't know he was doing this until later. You need to understand that the story is much more complex than you imagine. As her words echoed in my mind, a whirlwind of emotions overwhelmed me. The anger, the pain, the regret, everything was mixed into one feeling. I wanted to scream, but instead, I just stood up, dazed, not knowing what to do. I need to leave, I mumbled, chest tight. Lucas, please. The plea in his voice almost made me stop, but I couldn't. I needed time to process all of this. I walked out the door, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. The truth I sought was now clear, but the confusion it created in me was unbearable. The only thing I knew was that I needed to understand what really happened years ago. The anguish I felt when remembering Anna and her words still echoed in my mind like a distant echo. I needed answers, and the only person who could give me those answers was Daniel. With my heart racing, I decided to look for him. The sun was already starting to set when I entered the bar where we used to meet. The smell of beer and fried food surrounded the environment, and laughter and conversations mixed into an almost deafening sound. When I saw him in a corner, sitting at a table with a glass of whiskey, the anger I felt for him boiled inside me. I moved closer, trying to maintain my composure, but the tension was palpable. Daniel, I called, my voice firmer than I felt. He raised his head, surprised, and then his face became serious when he noticed the intensity of my gaze. We need to talk. He hesitated, but motioned for me to sit down. What do you want, Lucas? I want to know the truth. About Anna. About all of this. Frustration built up in me, and the words came out more like a suppressed scream than a plea. You fueled rumors, didn't you? What you did was disastrous. Daniel sighed, looking at his glass of whiskey as if he was seeking courage. Lucas, I didn't want things to come to this. I just didn't like her, and you know it. Didn't like her? That doesn't give you the right to destroy her life and mine. You knew I loved her. I leaned forward, anger consuming me. You took advantage of my weakness to take revenge on her. What you did was cruel. He looked at me, and I could see a flash of guilt in his eyes. Yes, I did. I didn't think about the consequences. Actually, I didn't think about you. I just wanted you to see the truth. Ultimately, I wanted you to feel as lost as I did. Lost? I questioned, disbelief in my voice. You were willing to destroy an entire family because of a grudge? Daniel, this is not just despicable, it's insane. He closed his eyes, as if trying to block out reality. I know, Lucas. I know I made a mistake, but you don't understand. Anna was never good to you. She always had a way of manipulating you, and I couldn't stand by while you let yourself be fooled. Manipulate? Are you talking about a woman who dedicated her life to Miguel and me? Indignation took over me. You had no right to decide who she was or what she felt. And now, you need to tell me the truth. She didn't cheat on me, did she? He hesitated for a moment, silence dragging between us. No, she didn't cheat on you. I created a story. And you, Lucas, you believed in me. I didn't know she was so fragile. I didn't know you were going to leave everything behind. A mix of helplessness and anger invaded me. I wanted to scream, but the truth he had revealed hurt more than any scream could express. You destroyed my life, Daniel. And now, what do I do with this? I don't know, but you need to talk to her. You need to apologize, he murmured, as if realizing the gravity of what he had done. His words echoed in my mind, and I knew I had to do it. The anger I felt toward Daniel was nothing compared to the regret that consumed me. I wanted to reconcile with Anna, with Miguel, and most of all, I wanted to confront the lies that had kept me from them. I got up, determined to change the direction of my life. I'm going after her, and you will pay for it, Daniel. I can't let your lies go unpunished. I can't live with this anymore. He didn't say anything as I left the bar, but I knew the real battle was yet to come. What I had lost because of a man who let his own demons lead him, I now needed to get back, and I was willing to fight for it, no matter what it took. The bar was almost empty when I entered, the smell of beer and cigarettes permeating the air. The dim light illuminated the place in a melancholy manner, reflecting the state of my spirit. Daniel was there, leaning against the counter, with a beer in his hand and an expression that mixed disdain and surprise when he saw me. My feet felt heavy, but determination guided me towards him. I needed answers. I needed to confront him. "Lucas," he said, trying to keep his tone calm, but I knew he was nervous. "What are you doing here?" "I came to talk about Anna," I replied, my voice coming out harsher than I intended. "About everything you've done." "I don't know what you're talking about," he replied, looking away. "Of course you know. You were responsible for all that mess. You planted the seed of distrust in me. You made me believe that my life was in ruins because of a betrayal that never happened." Anger boiled inside me, and I felt like I was about to explode. "I didn't want this to happen, Lucas. It was a mistake," he said, but his voice didn't carry the sincerity I expected. I just wanted you to see Anna for who she really is. What is she really like? You discredited her, Daniel. You made me lose years of my life because of your insecurity and jealousy. And now you come up with this lame excuse?" I took a step towards him, my heart racing. "You're going to tell me what happened, or I'm going to make you tell me." He smiled, an arrogant smile that irritated me even more. "And what are you going to do? Hit me? You're not the same anymore, Lucas. Time has made you weak." And it was at that moment that everything dissolved. Anger took over me, and I couldn't control it. I launched myself at him. Our bodies collided, and the shock knocked us both onto a nearby table. The sound of breaking wood echoed throughout the room, and the fight began. Punches and shoves. Each blow brought back the pain of years of betrayal and hurt. The taste of blood in my mouth was nothing compared to what I felt inside. "You're going to pay for this," I shouted as I grabbed him by the collar. "You have no idea what caused it." I know, Lucas, but you can't do that." He tried to break away, but I wouldn't let him escape. The anger I had held in for so long finally broke free, and each blow seemed to free me from a weight I had been carrying. After a few minutes that seemed like an eternity, I managed to get away from him. Daniel was on the floor, panting and looking remorseful. "You're out of control," he murmured, and I realized that, somehow, he was right. But the words that left my lips were different. "I just want to know the truth. Tell me the truth." He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a glimmer of regret in his eyes. "It's okay, Lucas. I confused things. I had my reasons, but that doesn't justify what I did. I just wanted you to see Anna for the woman she really is, but I ended up hurting you." I walked away, the weight of the conversation still pressing down on me. The adrenaline from the fight was wearing off, and I needed a new goal. If I wanted to reverse what happened, I needed to go to Anna and Miguel. I needed to face what I had done and, perhaps, restore some of what I destroyed. When I arrived at Anna's door, my heart raced again. I hesitated, the memory of Miguel paralyzing me for a moment, but the need to seek forgiveness was stronger. As soon as I entered, I found Miguel in the room, his eyes wide when he saw me. "Father." His voice was a mix of disbelief and hope. "Hi, Miguel," I managed to murmur, but the emotion suffocated me. He stood up, and I could feel the tension in the air. I'm back. Why did you leave? Didn't you care about us?" His words were like stabs, and I had no answer. "I was wrong, Miguel. I didn't know what I was doing. I just want you to know that I'm sorry." At that moment, Anna appeared at the door, her look of sadness mixed with confusion. When he saw me, his face changed. "Lucas," she started, but I didn't let her speak. "Anna, forgive me. I was an idiot. I let anger and jealousy control me, and I messed up. But I'm here now, and I want to make it right. Please." With tears in my eyes, I knelt before her, vulnerability taking over me. "Forgive me, please. I can't change the past, but I want a future with you." Anna looked at me for a long moment, and then, slowly, she walked over and wrapped me in a tight hug. Her warmth was all I needed. In his embrace, I felt like maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for us.